I never thought I'd be writing one of these posts. Hell, I used to read them during my lunch breaks at the construction site, thinking, thank God that's not me. Well, guess what? Now it is me, and I honestly don't know what to do anymore. My name is Jake, I'm 34, and I've been married to Sarah for 12 years. We met in college at Ohio State. She was studying nursing, I was in engineering. Classic love story, right? She was the girl who'd bring me coffee during finals week, and I was the guy who'd wait for her outside the library every night to walk her back to her dorm. We got married right after graduation in this beautiful ceremony at her parents' farm in rural Ohio. My best friend Marcus was my best man, and Sarah's sister Emma was the maid of honor. Marcus and I go way back, we've been friends since high school. He's the guy who got me through my parents' divorce, who was there when I failed my first engineering exam, who helped me pick out Sarah's engagement ring at the jewelry store in downtown Columbus. He's been like a brother to me, which makes what I'm about to tell you hurt even more. About 3 months ago, I started noticing changes in Sarah. She'd always been social, but suddenly she was going out more often, girls' nights, work events, visiting her sister in Cincinnati. She'd come home late, sometimes smelling like wine, always with elaborate explanations about where she'd been. Her phone, which used to sit openly on our kitchen counter, was now permanently attached to her hand and always face down. I tried to ignore it at first. We'd been having some rough patches, work was stressful for both of us, money was tight because we just bought a house in Westerville, and we'd been trying to have kids for 2 years with no luck. Maybe she just needed space, I told myself. Maybe I was being paranoid. But then came the night that changed everything. It was a Friday in October. Sarah said she was going to Emma's house for a wine night and wouldn't be back until late. I decided to surprise her by cleaning the house and cooking her favorite meal, my mom's lasagna recipe. Around 10 p.m., I realized I'd forgotten to buy wine, so I drove to the Kroger near Emma's apartment to pick up a bottle of that Pinot Grigio Sarah loves. That's when I saw her car in the parking lot of the Hampton Inn across the street. My stomach dropped. What was Sarah doing at a hotel? I parked and sat there for about 20 minutes, trying to come up with innocent explanations. Maybe she was visiting someone. Maybe there was a work event. But deep down, I knew. I was about to leave when I saw her. She came out of the hotel entrance with Marcus. They weren't just walking together, he had his arm around her waist, and she was laughing at something he'd said. They stood by her car for a few minutes, talking quietly, and then he kissed her. Not a friendly peck, but a long, passionate kiss that made my heart shatter into a million pieces. I drove home in a daze and pretended to be asleep when she came home around midnight. She slipped into bed beside me, smelling like his cologne, and whispered, "I love you," like she always did. I wanted to throw up. The next few weeks were torture. I started paying attention to everything, their text messages, she'd smile when texting and quickly hide her phone. Their interactions when we all hung out together, the way they'd avoid eye contact when I was around. How long had this been going on? How could I have been so blind? I hired a private investigator. I know it sounds dramatic, but I needed proof before I confronted them. What he found out made me wish I'd never started digging. They'd been having an affair for 8 months. 8 months of lies, of stolen moments, of planning their betrayal while I worked 60-hour weeks to pay for our dream house. The PI had photos of them at restaurants, hotels, even at Marcus's apartment when I was out of town for work. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the conversation he recorded at Starbucks on Broad Street. Sarah was telling Marcus that she'd been thinking about leaving me anyway, even before their affair started. She said I was boring and predictable, that she'd married me because I was safe, but that she'd never felt real passion with me. She said the only reason she hadn't left yet was because she was waiting for the right moment, after we'd been married for 10 years so she could get better alimony, and after I finished a basement renovation that would increase our home value. Marcus, My best friend, the guy who was supposed to be my brother, was encouraging her. He said he'd been in love with her since our wedding day, that he'd only stayed close to me to be near her. He said I was too trusting and too stupid to ever figure it out. But here's the part that really killed me: Sarah was pregnant. 3 months pregnant. And she wasn't sure if the baby was mine or his. I listened to that recording about 20 times before it really sank in. My wife, the woman I'd been trying to have a baby with for 2 years, was carrying a child that might not even be mine. She'd been sleeping with both of us, lying to both of us, and planning her exit strategy while I was working my ass off to build the life she said she wanted. That night, I confronted her. I played the recording. I showed her the photos. I laid everything out on our kitchen table while she stood there in her Lululemon pajamas, the ones I bought her for her birthday, and watched her world crumble. She didn't deny it. She didn't apologize. Instead, she got angry at me. She said I'd violated her privacy by hiring a PI. She said if I'd been a better husband, she wouldn't have needed to look elsewhere. She said the pregnancy was complicated, and she needed time to figure things out. Figure things out? I asked. You mean figure out which one of us you want to destroy? That's when she told me the truth that broke me completely. She said she'd been planning to leave me anyway, but when she found out she was pregnant, she realized she could use the situation to her advantage. If the baby was mine, she'd stay long enough to secure better alimony and child support. If it was Marcus's, she'd leave me for him and still get half of everything we'd built together. She'd been playing us both. I moved out that night. I'm staying at my brother's place in Dublin while I figure out what to do next. Sarah's been blowing up my phone, saying she made a mistake, that she wants to work things out, that the baby is definitely mine. How convenient that she's suddenly sure. Marcus has been trying to reach me too, saying he's sorry, that it just happened, that our friendship means too much to him to lose. But here's the thing that's eating me alive: part of me still loves her. Part of me wants to believe that the woman I married is still in there somewhere, that this is all just a terrible mistake we can fix. 12 years is a long time. We have a house together, a life together, and now maybe a baby. Everyone's telling me to divorce her, and logically I know they're right. My lawyer says I have a strong case, especially with the recordings and photos. My family is furious. My mom literally threw Sarah's picture in the trash when I told her what happened. My friends, the real ones, not Marcus, are ready to help me move on. But I can't stop thinking about the good times. Our first apartment with the broken air conditioner where we'd eat popsicles in bed during the summer heat waves. The way she'd wake up early to make me breakfast before big work presentations. How excited she was when we found our house, how she cried happy tears when I carried her across the threshold. The way she'd curl up next to me on the couch every Sunday to watch football, even though she hated sports. Were all of those moments fake? Was she pretending the whole time? The paternity test is scheduled for next week. Sarah agreed to it, probably because she realizes she's out of options. If the baby is mine, I honestly don't know what I'll do. How do you co-parent with someone who betrayed you so completely? How do you look at your child and not think about the circumstances of their conception? If the baby isn't mine, well, then I guess I'll know exactly where I stand. I've been seeing a therapist, Dr. Mitchell, twice a week. He says I need to focus on what I can control and let go of what I can't. Easy for him to say, he's not the one whose entire life turned out to be built on lies. Last week, I drove past our house, my house, the one I'm still paying the mortgage on while living on my brother's couch. Sarah's car was there, along with Marcus's truck. They're probably inside right now, planning their future together in the home I worked overtime to afford. The hardest part is the loneliness. Sarah and Marcus were my two closest people. Now I've lost both of them, and I'm supposed to just move on. Start over at 34 like none of the last 12 years happened. My brother keeps telling me I'm better off without them, that I deserve someone who will be faithful and honest. My mom keeps trying to set me up with her friend's daughter. Even my coworkers have been extra nice, bringing me lunch and inviting me to happy hours I'm too depressed to attend. But here's what I keep coming back to: what if I'm partly to blame? What if I really was boring and predictable? What if I took Sarah for granted? What if I worked too much and didn't pay enough attention to her needs? Does that excuse what she did? Of course not. But did I contribute to pushing her away? I look at other couples now and wonder if they're happy or just pretending like Sarah and I were. I see husbands and wives at restaurants, at the grocery store, at gas stations, and I want to shake them and tell them to pay attention, to not trust blindly like I did. The divorce papers are ready. My lawyer is waiting for my signature. All I have to do is sign them, file them, and start the process of legally ending my marriage. But I can't bring myself to do it yet. Maybe I'm weak. Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe I'm holding on to something that was never real in the first place. But when I think about signing those papers, I feel like I'm giving up on the person I thought Sarah was, on the future I thought we were building together. Final question: am I crazy for still having feelings for my wife after everything she's done? Should I wait for the paternity test results before making any decisions, or should I just sign the papers and move on with my life? Have any of you been through something like this? How did you find the strength to let go?